Hello, everybody. My name is Lily, and I am going to be taking a stand against AI art today. I have a lot to talk about, so I hope you are ready. This is a topic I feel strongly about, to say the very least, not just as an artist, but as just a creative person in general. And I'm going to make this very clear before I start. If you support AI art, I either think you are either A, severely misinformed, or B, a bad person. That's it. I believed if you are informed, that's the part where you become a bad person if you know all of the ramifications of AI and you still choose to support it. I think you're a bad person. That's all there is. You're not going to convince me otherwise. I don't care if you save kitties from burning buildings. You support AI art, you're a bad person if you know the consequences. There are a lot of points to get through, so let's go ahead and get started. The first thing I want to do is define what kind of AI makes art, because a major response I hear to AI art is that we've already been using AI in our modern lives, no problem, and that's just a very ignorant thing to say. Some people might say, oh, it's just semantical. It's really not. Not at all. Is AI art and normal AI are just not the same. That's like saying all nuts are the same, when that's not true. Some nuts are walnuts, and others are peanuts that will kill a person in a minute. That's kind of like the thing. We don't call all nuts the same. It's just not it. Not all AI is made equally. In fact, it's made very differently, and it's used for very different things. What we are talking about is specifically generative AI. We're talking about generative AI that has to use data sets and images and mishmashes them together to create something not new, but just a new combination of already existing items. It's not really new, but I will get to that later. So people say they're anti-AI art, they're talking about the use of generative art, not like the AI that runs things like Google Predictive Search or Google Maps. So it's a very different kind of AI, and not at all what we're talking about, and not really important, because once again, it's incredibly different. My next point is probably one of the most important ones I talk about today, and is the reason why I think people are bad people if they support AI art, knowing the ramifications, which is that AI art has to steal from real artists. It can't just magically make your image for you. It has to scrape together pieces from other artists to make it. This is not even a thing I'd ever think would even happen, but it's happening. And it's wrong. For a couple different reasons. The main one being artists can't consent to this, or in fact against what they're doing. They do not have a say at all in what is currently happening to them. That's like a coworker or a classmate taking credit for your hard work and you can't do anything about it. Stealing is wrong. I hope we can all agree on that one. It's wrong. Okay, I know it's like steal from the rich, give to the poor, and all that sort of thing. We're not talking about that. The act of stealing itself is wrong, and that is what is happening. And artists are being forced on large social media platforms to agree to let their art be scrapped, otherwise they can't use the platform to share their art. And that is something else that's very morally wrong that big companies are doing. Let's go ahead and talk about big companies for a second. I don't know if y'all realize this, but the only reason all this AI stuff is being pushed onto us is because companies can make a profit off it. AR and new AR features are constantly being pushed to us by pretty much everything. Even Google now is doing it, and I am honest to God disgusted by it. I have never liked ChatGPT in the first place. Now, maybe not because I know some people are against all AI in that context. My opinion on ChatGPT is a little bit looser when it comes to that. I think people who use it for school are stupid because most of them are just looking up answers. They'd be better off looking up at Google where they get a more accurate response, because ChatGPT will just make stuff up for you. The only context I've ever used AI and felt comfortable using it was for math. And even then, I double checked it every single time because it was wrong 50% of the time. So even then, it's still not very helpful. I guess, quick side thing, quick tip if you're in school and want to use it for math. You should use AI to help you solve the problem. And this kind of AI has been out for years, so it's not really that big of a deal. And then you change the numbers on a problem and repeat the steps the AI gives you and see if you come up with the right answer again, because it actually help you learn, but that's not what we're talking about here. One of the biggest things I'm seeing is that large companies are now using AI to make commercials at basically a fraction of the price thanks to AI, because they don't have to pay a machine. There was a very specific food one, I don't think it was Arby's, but it was a very specific like food meat brand that I saw a while ago when AI first started popping up, where they had all these different images of like their food and stuff in different art styles, and you could just tell it was all AI. Like, companies don't actually care about how useful AI really is to us. All they really care about at the end of the day is making a profit, and if you think that's not what they're doing, that's exactly what they're doing. And the only reason AI will continue to exist is if they manage to make profit off it. The moment it no longer makes profit, they're probably going to drop it. Let's also be clear of something else. This is not the same as when machines began to replace factory workers. That is manual labor. That is, while I am sad about that, this is different. We're not just talking about jobs being replaced. We're talking about creativity being at stake here. Creative freedom is something everybody has the right to and is not something that should be exploited. Once again, this AI art cannot exist without artists. A factory-produced item doesn't need a human first before the robot can do it. I guess obviously someone needs to make the robot, but the robot doesn't need the AI doesn't need the human to put on work first before they can go in and finish the product. They don't need that. Things like AI were supposed to replace things like manual labor so we could have time to pursue those creative endeavors. But we can't anymore because we're at constant risk of all of our art being stolen, especially for those who like to post their art online. Obviously, if you don't post your art anywhere, you're fine. The AI can't come into your house. You're okay. But if you are online, there's a good chance it'll get stolen, especially if it's good art. I don't think my art's ever going to get stolen from an AI generator. I don't think it's at that point where anybody would want to steal it. It's such a basic art style. I don't think it really matters. But honest to God, who knows at this point? And that kind of brings me to another massive point, which is the point of art. AI art and the people who use the AI treats art like the final product is the only thing that matters. Art isn't just about a pretty picture. There is a story behind every piece that reflects both the piece itself and the artist who put time, love, and effort into that piece. It's just, so people who use AI art are just using it because they want internet clout or an easy way to make a buck. They don't actually care about the act of art or creativity. They just want a quick buck. And you, honest to God, cannot convince me otherwise. Especially those who post it online, they just want a quick buck off it. Don't even try. And all I'm saying is that nobody owes you art. Okay? Nobody owes you to give up their own autonomy so you can have a new profile picture, okay? If you want that kind of thing, there are other ways to get it besides AI. Obviously, no, you don't have to commission artists for literally everything, but like Pic Crew exists, guys. Pic Crew exists and it's great for making a profile picture. You want to make a little sticker set? There's also all sorts of things on the internet for that. You don't need AI for that. And it's just sucky. I know it's easy, but the easy thing isn't always the right thing to do. Well, maybe you just need AI as a reference image, though, right? Because you can't really find a good reference for what you want to draw or make. It's not like you're claiming that art is your own, right? Wrong. That reference you're using probably is not good. In fact, I can almost guarantee you it's not good. AI does not understand the context behind drawings at all. All they know is how to mishmash an image together to make what they think is correct based off the data sets they've been given. They don't understand when 6 fingers is wrong. Of course, obviously these days AI is getting a little bit better. They're no longer doing the finger thing as often. But when you look closely at almost any AI piece, there is always something off about it. So using a reference image is not a good idea because you're not going to get something that is actually accurate to what you need. You're much better off just using Pinterest, okay? Just use Pinterest, use other things. You can find your reference image. If anything, you need to make your reference image, put your own pictures together. At least then you're creating something and not using stolen work, okay? Okay. At this point, I stopped writing my script because I have been feeling a little bit mentally drained. I start school in about a week, and I really just wanted to get this out there. So I have a whole bunch of points now I'm just going to go through and just talk about. I'm just going to fly solo. Hopefully this goes okay. The first one I have is that AI art is useful for disabled people. I've also been hearing this one online a lot, and all I can say to this one is that it's kind of ableist to say that disabled people basically need AI in order to create art. Well, that's just not true. There have been so many famous disabled artists out there, including people like Leonardo da Vinci himself, like the artist. He was disabled. Even blind people can make art. Art, once again, is more about a final product, okay? Even animals can make art. Elephants, cats, dogs, they can all make art, and they have made art. Okay, it's not, saying it's for disabled people is not letting them speak for themselves, because almost every single person I've seen who have said this has been an able-bodied person speaking for disabled people, and you should not be speaking for them. Okay, they can do what they want. If they want to use AI art, that's their own problem, but I can assure you they will be fine. Even blind people, they can create art just fine. There are more than one ways to create art. It is a massive medium for a reason. The next point I have written down here is that AI art and generative AI is bad for the environment. This one I wish to do more research about because I've been trying to do research on it. I just keep on forgetting to, but I do know the basics. And this is another one people are always like, yeah, but we have other things that take up a bunch of energy and nobody complains about that, how bad it is for the environment. And I'm going to put in perspective here. We need things like trains and other forms of public transportation in order to get around. We need phones to communicate. Maybe we don't need them, but they've become pretty essential to our society where if you don't have those things, you're going to struggle. But we don't need AI. On top of that, the computers that need to run AI far exceeds anything that a car or a phone gives off. It exceeds it in every way imaginable because it is a constant server running with millions of images coming in of it and millions of images coming out of it so that somebody can have a nice profile picture. The way it exceeds it is astronomically different to just the use of a phone. So when you bring up things like that, it's kind of a moot point. We don't realize just how much energy it takes up. I believe I saw in a study, don't quote me on this though, that our electricity usage will basically double by, I believe, 2027, 2037 with the use of AI now. That's a lot just from a computer, basically. The next one I want to talk about, I have this written down. I don't really know what I meant by that. It can help with deadlines. My fiance is helping me come up with points. I think he wrote this specifically with the idea of ChatGPT. I guess just, yeah, I guess it could help with outlines. That's more like writing department. I'm not really going to talk about that. I'm also a writer, but I'm just not going to talk about that. I'm more talking about art today. But if you have a deadline with art, you either need to get a better boss or get better at your timing. I do get there's a lot of pressure in the art world to get things done at a certain time, but I just don't really see how AI would really help with that, so I'm just going to skip past this point. Next one I feel is pretty important. Letting AI art run rampant is adding to media illiteracy, especially with how much better AI art is getting. It's starting to trick even actual artists. And I feel like I don't even need to begin to explain how that is a bad thing. That is bad. That is so bad. We already have a hard time with media literacy lately without AI. And now we're adding on fake pictures. I can't even look at a picture of a kangaroo without 5 different images of it being AI. I did that earlier. I was telling my fiance about how creepy I find kangaroos that stand up are, and we looked it up, and I looked it up too. A whole bunch of AI images came up, and we don't need that. I want an actual picture, not some computer shitty rendition of a kangaroo. Okay, it's stupid. As well as I also studied a little bit of AI in college this past semester and like its use. And I found an article that we all studied together in my class about how, and this is going to get just a little bit political, everybody hold on to your panties. Donald Trump got tricked by an actual AI image of him like standing around with African American people. Yes, it's a real article. If I manage to find the link, it might be a little bit hard. It's a little bit of an obscure article. I will put it in the description. It's a real article, it's a real image, it's a real interview. He genuinely thought it was an actual picture of him. And you think he would remember he wasn't there. I'm not trying to make this political or anything like that. I don't want to share my beliefs on Trump and who he is and what I think of him, but he did get tricked by an AI image of himself. And if he can, everybody can. And at some point, people are going to start using AI art in order to purposely spread media literacy. Okay, somebody's going to do it. There's always somebody who's going to try and exploit this. So just be careful. Then I also have another point. People are using AI art for deception. The exact same thing for media literacy. The next one I have is I just use it for touch-ups. Also, when I say like I statements, I'm not saying me. I'm talking about what I've heard other people say. You shouldn't need AI for your touch-ups on your art, mainly because the moment you do that, it's no longer yours. It is now the AI's, and you're giving it more fuel. Why would you do that? As well as touch-ups typically means making this look like glossy effect. If you want that glossy effect, learn how to draw it. Okay? Don't use it's once again, it's just lazy. And while I can't really say not to do it because that's a personal preference, with everything else I've said, if you're still okay with using it for touch-ups, you're just a bad person. Sorry, that's just how it is. The next one is this is just when digital art wasn't real art. This one I've been talking about because another big issue people have with anti-AI art is that when digital art came out, people didn't consider it to be a real medium either. And I feel like there's a pretty easy comeback to this, which is that, yeah, that's true. It's changed since then, but also digital art, you still made the art yourself. Sure, you had some help with the brushes and you had pre-textured brushes perhaps, but you still had to draw it yourself. You still had to put in the effort. With an AI art, you don't put in any effort at all. Maybe you have to find the right keywords, but oh la la, look at all that effort you're putting in. But you're not actually creating the image in any way. Okay, it's not an aid to help you create the image. It is just doing it for you. And that's kind of the difference between digital art and AI art. Another person said this is just the next phase for art. Well, if this is the next phase for art, I don't want it. Once again, it's stealing from actual artists, and if actual artists stop putting out the content, your AI art is going to look pretty shitty within a few seconds. Okay, it's not the next phase for art because it's not art. AI art is not art. AI art is not art. Okay, it's not. AI artists are not artists. It's as simple as that. You are not creating it. It is not yours. You are not an artist. And the last one I have here is that it will be better in the future. And all I can say for this one is, even if it is, it's not now. Right now, AI art is running rampant and there are no laws around it anywhere, which means people can do whatever they want, steal whatever they want. It is a horror zone. And while maybe one day it will be better and maybe one day it'll be used ethically, it's not right now. And I'm not going to take that chance to have other artists stolen from them. I'm too small for it to really actually affect me in any significant way, but I can see the way it affects others, and I'm not going to let that happen. So I will continue to take a stand against AI art, even if it means pissing people off. And if you are here as a pro AR artist and you're like, haha, I caught you in something, I don't care. You're not going to be able to convince me of anything. I'm probably not going to be able to convince you of anything. But just so you know, if you do change your ways and realize that AI art is probably more harmful than you thought it was, I don't think you're a bad person. I only think those who willfully use it, knowing all of this, and still try to justify it are bad people. Those are the people I think are bad, not the people who are misinformed or not the people who change later. Okay, it is okay to mess up and change later on when you realize you were wrong. That's the important thing. But for those of you who still think AI art is okay and think I'm just one big old complainer, fuck you. You're a shitty ass person, and that's all I'm going to say on the situation. But for those of you who stand with me on the anti-AR stance, I love you all so much. That is going to be all for today. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I don't know when my next video is coming out. I'm starting school. I expect it to be a while. Follow me on Instagram and TikTok. That's where I'll be posting all my shorts. And I will see you guys all later. Bye!